The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies, saved 1 and 2 at a time by bargaining with the grocer and the butcher until her cheeks burned. 3 times Della counted it, $1.87, and the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but sit down on the worn little couch and cry. So Della cried. Then she dried her eyes and stood at the window, looking out at a gray cat walking along a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow was Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim. Her Jim. For months she had saved every penny she could, and this was the result. $20 a week does not go far. The costs had been greater than she had expected. They always are. Only $1.87 to buy a gift for Jim. Her Jim. She had spent many happy hours planning something nice for him, something fine and rare, something just a little worthy of the honor of belonging to Jim. Now, the young couple who lived in that small flat had 2 possessions in which they both took great pride. One was Jim's gold watch, which had been his father's and his grandfather's before that. The other was Della's hair. If a queen had lived in the apartment across the hall, Della would have let her hair hang out of the window to dry, just to make the queen's jewels seem cheap. And if a king had lived below, Jim would have taken out his watch every time he passed, only to see him stroke his beard with envy. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, shining like a brown waterfall, reaching below her knee and making itself almost like a coat for her. And then she put it up again, quickly and nervously. For a moment she stood still while a tear or two fell on the worn red carpet. She put on her old brown coat and her old brown hat. With a bright sparkle still in her eyes, she went out the door and down the stairs to the street. Where she stopped, the sign read, Madame Sofronie, hair goods of all kinds. Della ran up the steps and gathered herself, breathing hard. A large woman, cool and businesslike, looked up. "Will you buy my hair?" asked Della. "I buy hair," said Madame. "Take your hat off and let's have a look at it." Down rippled the brown waterfall. $20, said Madame, lifting the heavy mass with a practiced hand. "Give it to me quickly," said Della. Oh, and the next 2 hours seemed to fly by on rosy wings. She was searching the shops for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the stores, and she had turned them all inside out. It was a platinum chain, simple and plain in design, showing its value by substance alone and not by flashy decoration, as all good things should. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him, quiet and valuable. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents that were left. With that chain on his watch, Jim might look at the time in any company. Grand as the watch was, he sometimes glanced at it secretly because of the worn old leather strap that he used in place of a chain. When Della reached home, her excitement gave way a little to caution and reason. She got out her curling iron and went to work repairing the damage made by generosity added to love, which is always a tremendous task. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny, close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a schoolgirl. She looked at herself in the mirror long and carefully. "If Jim doesn't kill me," she said to herself, "before he takes a second look at me, he'll say I look like a chorus girl. But what could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87? At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made, and the pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late. Della held the chain in her hand and sat near the door. Then she heard his step on the stair, and she turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday things, and now she whispered, "Please, God, make him think I am still pretty." The door opened, and Jim stepped in and closed it. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, he was only 22 and burdened with a family. He needed a new coat, and he had no gloves. Jim stopped inside the door, as still as a hunting dog that has caught a scent. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read, and it frightened her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor any of the feelings she had been ready for. He simply stared at her with that strange expression on his face. Della went to him. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It will grow again. You won't mind, will you? My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you." "You've cut off your hair?" asked Jim slowly, as if he had not quite understood, even after the hardest work of his mind. "Cut it off and sold it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well, anyhow? I'm me without my hair, aren't I?" Jim looked about the room as though he were searching for something. "You say your hair is gone?" he said, almost like a foolish man. "You needn't look for it," said Della. "It's sold, I tell you, sold and gone, too. It's Christmas Eve, boy. Be good to me, for it went for you." Then Jim seemed to wake. He folded his Della in his arms, and then from inside his coat he took a small package and threw it on the table. "Don't make any mistake about me, Dell," he said. "I don't think there's anything, a haircut or a new style, that could make me love you any less. But if you'll open that package, you may see why you had me going there for a minute." White fingers tore at the string and paper, and then a cry of joy, and then, alas, a quick change to tears, so that the man of the house had to use all his comfort. For there lay the combs, the set of combs that Della had worshipped for a long time in a shop window. Beautiful combs, made for the lovely hair that was now gone. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had simply longed for them, without the least hope of ever owning them. And now they were hers, but the hair that should have worn them was gone. But she held them to her, and at last she was able to look up with wet eyes and a smile and say, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And then Della leaped up and cried, "Oh, oh!" for Jim had not yet seen her beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open hand. "Isn't it lovely, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of obeying, Jim sat down on the couch, put his hands behind his head, and smiled. "Dell," he said, "let's put our Christmas presents away and keep them a while. They're too nice to use just at present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs, and now suppose you put the chops on." The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the baby in the manger long ago. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones. And here I have told you the simple story of two young people who most unwisely gave up for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are the wisest. Everywhere they are the wisest. They are the Magi.